Daniel, your first impressions. Again, you're another mid-'80s Kiss fan, so we come from a similar place, but we have a similar story.
First time I saw a picture of Ace was in the classic Swedish Kiss magazine called OK. It was a poster from the Creatures era, and I was so taken aback because I thought his costume and makeup looked so cool. So for me, the first thing that happened was actually that I started doodling Ace. I still have, I should have brought them, but I still have, notepads from when I was 8-9 years old, and they are filled with Ace faces, trying to get those things right around the eyes when you're 8-9 years old. I finally perfected it a few years later. I still remember that poster in the OK magazine. It was a real cool poster from the Creatures era. They actually did, sort of a promo tour of Sweden. Even though Ace really was out of the band, he came along for that tour, and they did some great photo shoots in Sweden. OK, the Swedish magazine, always had the best photo shoots of the 80s, I think, when it came to Kiss. Kiss was really heavily promoted in that magazine. I think Kiss made me really interested in art. They were so visual, and I had a knack for drawing, and it made me. I think it helped me become an art teacher. So I'm teaching art for kids now, and still to this day I try to in some way show them the Kiss makeups. When we do stuff, I try to draw along with the kids, and somehow it always ends up with a picture of Gene Simmons or Ace Frehley at the end. And I show them, and they ask, "Who is that?" "Well, what the? Don't you know? This is Ace Frehley of Kiss."
With Ace, but Daniel, don't let me forget you. What's your take on this?
The gravity that used to hold me down just don't exist no more. I think Ace would have a laugh in wherever he is now. That is what seemed to have, gotten the best of him. His bad balance. I have trouble walking. That's another song. So I just think the irony of that is, I can't wrap my head around that. But how do I feel? Well, of course I'm very sad. What I missed most when he left the band wasn't necessarily his playing abilities. I mean, Bruce could mimic those quite well. The band lost that sense of humor that he had. He was always such a prankster and so straightforward and honest in his opinion. He wasn't the businessman that you can feel that Paul and Gene, they are always thinking about how should I answer this the best way. Ace was kind of straightforward, shooting from the hip, a true rocker, and he was hilarious at times as well. So when I heard the news, I went back and I listened to his solo album, of course, and took some time on my own. But there's a kind of a cool story when I went back to work that morning. Over here, the announcement was made at midnight. So the following morning when I came to school, the slowest student at school, he came up to me, and I was thinking, well, what's up now? What's the problem? And he put his arm around me and he said, "How is it?" He knew I was a fan. I've been using a lot of Kiss material in when I'm teaching. When I have art, I draw Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley for them. So he put his arm around me as a 10-year-old kid. "How is it, Daniel?" So he understood. And then later on, I met one of the parents at school, and he said, "Why are you here today? Shouldn't you be at home grieving?" So people seem to understand that this was quite important to me.
With Ace, but Daniel, what's your take on this?
Of course, it was a very sad day, but over here in Sweden, the media treated it perfectly. The biggest newspaper, there were a lot of articles, and they treated it respectfully. And yesterday there was a radio show on the biggest national radio channel here in Sweden. 3 hours, people calling in and talking about what Ace meant to them, and Kiss and Ace. And I was perplexed listening to it. I was thinking, well, a lot of old people will call in. I recall one of them was 14 years old. I mean, she was born like in 2010. It was a girl as well. And she said, "Well, I became a guitarist because of Ace Frehley."
A post-anomaly Ace fan.
Exactly. So it was just a beautiful show. 3 hours of bliss listening to that. I wish you could have heard that show, but it's all in Swedish. So, but it was beautiful, and that girl, she talked about some of his songs and what they meant to her and how it had made her play the guitar. So that's something to keep in mind, that this probably won't stop. Ace will continue to influence youngsters, and the music will live on forever.
Daniel, let's go to you for your first live experience of Ace Frehley.
Well, of course, it was on the reunion tour, but I never saw him during his solo career. But I remember when he actually came to Sweden to tour when he released Anomaly in 2009, and he made it onto, the biggest sort of TV channel in Sweden, a talk show in Sweden. It was so cool on that show. I still recall it because they filmed him when he was walking out towards, the host through the corridors, and the interviewer asked him, "Well, Ace Frehley, are you nervous now when you're going into the biggest, TV show in Sweden?" He did one of those laughs, and then he said, "I don't get nervous. I make people nervous." And I thought that was so cool. It was so cool when it went out, and the interview went great. And I think that's Ace. It was just cool, really cool. Not like Paul Stanley trying to act cool. He was cool, and he was funny, and he had all the traits to make him, a character that you liked.
Daniel,
it's kind of cool because the other day one of the kids came up to me and he sang "Heaven's on Fire" to me. He had learned all the lyrics to "Heaven's on Fire," and he sang it to me. This Swedish pupil, he's like 10 years old. He knew it by heart. So it's good to see that the music still can, capture the imagination of the youth. Yeah. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to see it live on. And it's not just me. I'm not just this brainwashed, crazy guy that liked Kiss. Because there has to be something about the music. When this 10-year-old kid, he has Spotify, he can listen to anything. And I told him, "Well, I'm really impressed. You know all the lyrics to Heaven's on Fire." "Well, you should hear me sing Under the Gun," the guy said. I think